China, officially the People's Republic of China, after nearly 3 years of being largely cut off from the world, Chinese authorities announced the lifting of several major COVID-related entry restrictions that take effect on January 8. Among these, China has dropped quarantine requirements for all international arrivals, its most significant move yet as it veers away from its stringent zero-COVID policy. But who can visit? Here, we address some of the major questions that might be on travelers' minds right now as they start planning their 2023 journeys. According to the government notices, for now it plans to focus on facilitating visa applications for foreign nationals traveling to China for business, employment, study, family visits and reunions. George Cao, several things need to happen before the country will reopen to leisure tourists following the lifting of quarantine. The next step is for China to once again start issuing visas for the purpose of tourism. Although this is part of the reopening plan that has been announced, we don't yet have an official date, he says. It's also crucial for the international flight schedule to increase, which will make it easier to get to China and also bring down flight prices, which are still well above pre-pandemic levels. This has already started for certain destinations. For example, many flights between China and South Korea, and between China and Singapore have resumed already. But it's not clear yet how quick the process will be for other destinations/routes, he adds. As noted, quarantine is no longer required as of January 8. Prior to that date, inbound travelers were subjected to 5 days of hotel quarantine and 3 days of self-isolation at home upon arrival. Travelers heading into China now are only required to take a nucleic acid test 48 hours before departure. Those with negative results no longer have to apply for a green health code from Chinese embassies and consulates abroad before entering. They do, however, need to fill in the results in their customs health declaration forms. If they test positive, they will not be permitted to travel to China until their tests come back negative. Though foreign leisure tourists can't visit yet, the changes are particularly welcome for Chinese nationals studying or working outside the country. Those who could not afford the sky-high prices of plane tickets and lengthy hotel quarantines have not been able to go home for nearly 3 years. Even when borders do open to international tourists, the question of how much demand there is in both the short and long term remains. This is a big unknown at the moment, and will be one of the most critical factors in the recovery of inbound travel into China in the months and years to come, says Cao. The Chinese government has increasingly recognized the importance of inbound travel, and China was one of the world's leading tourism destinations in 2019, with 65.7 million arrivals. He adds his company expects that the government will allocate more resources to the promotion of inbound travel in the years to come, to rebuild and expand this market, and develop new destinations and itineraries for international visitors. Can Chinese citizens travel abroad for leisure now? Prior to this month's loosening of restrictions, authorities in China had imposed a de facto international travel ban, forbidding citizens from going overseas for non-essential reasons. But as of January 8, international travel for leisure is once again permitted. According to a report from Chinese state media, the National Immigration Administration issued a notice in late December saying it will resume accepting and approving Chinese citizens' applications for ordinary passports for the purposes of tourism starting from January 8. By all appearances, China's travel-starved citizens are excited to journey abroad freely again. Many Weibo users, a social media platform in China, have been celebrating their newfound freedom to travel with the hashtag Where to Travel Abroad next year, racking up close to 80 million views in late December. Online searches for outbound flights and hotels overseas jumped to a 3-year peak in the final days of 2022 on Trip.com, according to company data. Searches for popular destinations increased tenfold within 30 minutes of the reopening announcement, with many people searching for outbound group tours during the Lunar New Year holiday season in January, data shows. Macau, Hong Kong, Japan, Thailand, South Korea, the United States and the United Kingdom were among the website's top 10 destinations with the fastest growth in search volume since the announcement. How has the world reacted to the news? The lifting of restrictions has proven to be quite controversial. Much has been said about the importance of Chinese tourists and the global tourism economy's recovery efforts. Before the pandemic, China was the world's largest market for outbound travel, having went from 4.5 million travelers in 2000 to 150 million in 2018. The country is also the world's largest spender, accounting for $277 billion or 16% of the world's total $1.7 trillion international tourism spending, according to the UN's World Tourism Organization. China alone contributed 51% of the travel and tourism GDP in the Asia-Pacific region in 2018, according to the World Travel and Tourism Council. And Chinese travelers typically accounted for 30% of all arrivals in Thailand. But now that they're ready to travel again, much of the world is exhibiting anxiousness surrounding their return due to the COVID-19 situation in the country. Multiple destinations including the US, Australia, the UK and Japan are adding additional COVID-19 testing requirements to passengers flying in from China, either directly or via a third country. International Air Transport Association Director General Willie Walsh on Wednesday called the reinstatement of these restrictions extremely disappointing, in a statement published on the airline trade body's website. Several countries are introducing COVID-19 testing and other measures for travelers from China, even though the virus is already circulating widely within their borders. It is extremely disappointing to see this knee-jerk reinstatement of measures that have proven ineffective over the last 3 years, Walsh said. Governments must base their decisions on science facts rather than science politics, he added. Thank you for staying with us for too long. See you next time with some interesting travel story.